To think that your husband, who you've built trust with, you've built a relationship with, is going behind your back without telling you and has a whole other wife,
a whole other life,
that a whole other life, and he's got, sometimes situations he's even got children and you don't know about it. It's so, even to think about, it's so hurtful to think that you would want to do that to somebody. And then, like, how long do you think that this can last? This is not sustainable forever and ever.
All right, shout out to these two sisters first of all. I'm actually in conversation with them on DM right now. Well, I reached out to them and they've responded, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. And I'm going to, inshallah ta'ala, request to have a proper conversation with them regarding this discussion. But from what I have seen of the videos so far is that they appear to be balanced, okay? I haven't seen the whole video and I haven't seen any other of their videos. However, so far, they appear to be quite balanced. They've put emotion on the back burner. And the sister in the pink scarf, she's raised a legitimate point. How long can you keep this up for, bro? How long can you keep it up for? But before we get to that, let's ask ourselves, why do Muslim men who marry again, who take on a second wife or who want to take on a second wife, why do they hide it in the first place? Well, the obvious answer for many of these men will be that they're just simply cowards and that they don't want to have to face the music of, the rigmarole of how their wife is going to respond and so on and so forth. That would be the obvious answer, and I would say that that would be the case for a lot of men, because a lot of men are cowards. When I ask them, when I speak to them, I talk to these guys. Oh, bro, I don't know, man. Oh, my wife, blah, blah, blah. And if they do end up doing it, they won't tell her out of cowardice. But let me give you a short story before I continue. Before I married my third wife, the first two wives, I had two wives at the time. The week before I married my third wife, I sat the second wife down and I told her. I said to her, babe, this is what's going to happen. This time next week I'm getting married, inshallah ta'ala. I just wanted you to know. I told her. Okay? The first wife, that was the second wife. The first wife, I didn't tell her a thing. I allowed her to find out after it had been done. Why? Why did I tell one wife and not the other wife? Well, because I had already been through it with one wife before, with wife number one before. And I saw her response and it was wild. I don't want to go into the details, but it was wild. And I said to myself, you know what? I don't want to go through that again. If I get married again, I don't want to go through that, because that was mental. Whereas with the second wife, she wasn't happy. And she reacted badly in her own... Well, not badly. She reacted in her own way. But it was less chaotic. It was less chaotic and more manageable. That's the words I'm looking for. It was far more manageable. So I came to conclude that if I do take on this third wife, which I did, I'll tell the second one, but not the first one. What's my point here? My point is there are occasions when men will look at their situation. They're not cowards. They're not scared. They're not scared of their wives, but they are scared of what she could do to him, particularly if you consider that courts and the law favor women exponentially. So now you might ask, well, why would he get married again in the first place? Well, maybe because he's miserable with that woman. Maybe. Imagine you're living in fear of your first wife, and the only reason you're sticking it out is for the sake of the children. In my case, I stuck it out with my first wife for many years for the sake of the children. I wasn't scared of her or anything like this, but her reactions were wild when it came to these types of situations, and I didn't want to go through that. Some men are legitimately scared of their wives. Not necessarily scared of them per se, but scared of what she could do to them via the power of the law, or via withholding the children from seeing father themselves, which is exactly what I've been through. In fact, my first wife, she actually admitted, she said to me, because after I took on a second wife, I didn't see or was it the third one? I can't remember. It was either the second one or the third one. I didn't see my children for a 6-week period. And she actually admitted, and she said to me, you know what, Mahdi, I wanted to hurt you. I took them away, so she left the home. I took them away because I wanted to hurt you. She admitted, she came clean on that, and she admitted that. So, a lot of men, decent, respectable men, they don't want to break their family up. They don't want to lose their family if they want to take on another woman. At the same time, they want to take on another woman. It's not only is it his God-given right, he doesn't need to provide you with the justification. A lot of sisters will say, oh, you need a reason. Oh, it needs to be a widow or a divorcee. No, it doesn't. Oh, there has to be a reason or something. No, there doesn't. It can't just because he wanted to. And then he will have to deal with the consequences of her bad behavior afterwards, yes. So there's no pity party here. There's no feeling sorry for brothers here. It is what it is. Okay, I will say typically these women who do create these massive palavers and then end up getting khul, divorce and leaving the marriage, they inevitably always end up regretting their decision years down the line. I've experienced this firsthand with my ex-wife. It is what it is, but it's too little too late. That regret and remorse and so on is too late. The damage has been done. It's too late. So the reason why I addressed that point is because I know the sisters will be thinking, well, don't marry again. And we're going to get into the existential fear. What is the existential fear that women have when their husband marries again? And we will get to that, but let's continue with this clip for now.
There's one way or another, somebody's going to find out. The wife's going to find out, the family, whoever it is. And like you said, it's the betrayal aspect of it, isn't it? That's painful and that would make a woman walk away, and you haven't given her the option to know about it before you decide to do it, even if you're going to do it, but you've told her first.
Now, I will say, these two sisters here, if they are as rational and reasonable as they are in this video with their husbands, and I don't know if they're married, but if they are as rational and reasonable in this video as they are with their husbands, if their husband wanted to take another wife, I would tell her. My wife that I'm with right now, I would tell her. Because she's rational and reasonable to a point. Of course, she's emotional. She's a woman. She gets upset. But she's more rational and reasonable than most women. Let's put it that way. And if you do behave in a rational and reasonable manner, sisters, your husband will tell you. He will tell you because he doesn't want to hurt you. He doesn't want to hide it from you. Do you know how much of a headache that is? Do you know how long it is covering up your tracks? It's all long, bruv. Much rather tell you up front and just keep it 100. But men go this way and that way because they feel like the mafsada, the harm outweighs the maslaha, the benefit of telling you. So if you want this honesty and you want this respect, we're coining it under the term of respect right now, which I don't think is necessarily fair because it's not disrespectful to not tell a woman if you think she's going to behave like a psychotic maniac. And I've been through this. But if you want that, then an element of maturity on your part is also required. Not just required, it's mandatory. You must bring that to the table to deal with it in a mature and responsible manner, and certainly not threaten him with taking the children away.
Yeah, I think because, obviously we know we're tested in life with everything that happens to us. But then, again, it comes back to the accountability.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It comes back to the accountability. You know the situation that you are creating effectively.
Yeah.
You know the situation that you're creating, and the reason why you're creating it is because you are aware that there's going to be certain reactions. Now, for me, I'm sorry, but I'm only going to label that as cowardice. You're being a coward because you don't want to face the fact that this wife is going to get upset. You don't want to take on that stress. Okay, fine.
It can be cowardice, and I've already addressed this just now. It can be an act of cowardice.
It's going to end up in stress anyway. It's pointless. It's inevitable. Yeah. It's like you're just delaying the reaction.
Yeah.
It's just respect.
Respect. Yeah, I was going to say. It's just.
You're right, sister. There will be drama regardless. Even if she's a woman who does behave in an extremely unreasonable manner, you're still going to have to deal with that unreasonable behavior once she inevitably finds out anyway. At least, however, from a man's perspective, at least this is how men see it, okay? I'm able to get married to this sister, and we are able to enjoy if she's a woman who's been married before, it's 3 days. If she's a virgin, it's 7 days. We're able to enjoy that period of time together without any stress and hassle and aggro from the first wife or whichever wife it is. At least you're able to enjoy that time. Then we'll deal with the drama afterwards.
Basic respect thing,
of knowing
it's your right, brother. You're allowed to do this. We are not even. This is not this is polygamy, alhamdulillah, you know.
Alhamdulillah.
Marriage, alhamdulillah, you know, multiplying the Muslim ummah, alhamdulillah. But the Prophet ﷺ is the best of examples.
Right.
He didn't always consult.
And again, shout out to the sisters for acknowledging that polygyny is not something to be frowned upon in any way, shape or form, not framing it under the term of cheating or anything like this, as some of these feminist Muslims have. It's something that is facilitated in our religion, is permissible, and it is what it is. And again, shout out to the sisters for acknowledging that and not trying to run their own spin on it.
His wife, but he let her know. Back then, he would send a message, wouldn't he, to let his wives know that he'd just taken on another wife. But they were well aware that he was going to be taking on another wife. It wasn't a secret.
So this is where the sisters make a mistake, and that is the Prophet ﷺ would sometimes come back from an expedition with another wife. There was no way of him being able to tell the wives that he has gotten married, because there was just no way of being able to communicate that. They were on an expedition. Now, you could make the argument in today's modern world, we have internet, we have phones, and that this was simply a practical impossibility on the Prophet ﷺ's part. Maybe you're right, okay? But just to make the point, however, he didn't always tell them, and he certainly didn't seek permission from them, as some sisters like to claim. I'm not saying these two sisters have claimed that. I haven't heard that so far, but I have heard it many times. A man doesn't need to seek his first wife's permission to marry again. This is a secondary point.
And that's, I think, some of the time you hear that kind of, well, the Prophet said, we're not telling you to ask permission. This is not.
It's not that.
There you go.
This is about.
This is not.
You don't need to. You don't need
on.
permission from your wife. This isn't. And I think we've seen this. We've seen these conversations happen on so many occasions where it's like someone's bashing polygamy or bashing the Muslims or bashing, you know, marriage and how it works and brothers and sisters. This is not even about any of that. This is just specific to the damages, the betrayal, the hurt that secret marriages cause. Because ultimately, the sunnah is to announce your marriage.
Even this, Yani, when we say announce the marriage, we can announce the marriage without having to tell the wife. We can announce it to our friends, we can announce it to our extended family, we can announce it to our in-laws who live on the other side of the world. You see, even this is, how would you term this and define this? I know this sounds like I'm nitpicking, but it's an important point. And look, let's address the existential threat or fear that sisters have when their husbands do get married again in secret. What is it? Why is it so infuriating when a Muslim man takes on another woman in quote unquote secret? I'll explain to you why. Two things. The two most precious things to a woman suddenly become diluted. That is, attention and resources. Resources and attention. Which one comes first? It's a coin cost. Which one does a woman value more? Coin costs. Perhaps you could say resources. You could make a strong argument. It's attention. But that's the existential threat, is that you are going to take the resources and the attention that you are providing me with, and you are now going to dilute that in some way, shape or form. Maybe I will only get half as much time and attention. Maybe if it's a no strings nikah type of contract, no strings nikah on all social media platforms, Telegram especially, then perhaps she would receive 10% less in the way of attention and resources, or 20%, or whatever the contract you have agreed with the sister, the new sister coming in. Regardless, that's what the existential threat is. That is what the existential fear is. And this is why women get so angsty and angry about it. That's why it makes them so upset. So I will say, and once again, I openly invite the sisters. I would love to come on your podcast and discuss this. We can talk about this more, because this is an important discussion, you know, and we've heard the sisters many times. I think perhaps it's time to bring a brother's point of view and, you know, have this discussion openly from the brother's point of view and discuss this. Secret wives. Why do they happen? Why? Okay, it's one thing calling out the men who take on a wife in secret, but how about these women who are happily getting involved in a secret marriage? I know the response might be, oh, well, they were lied to, or they were deceived, or okay, maybe they were, but maybe they weren't. How do we know? We can't assume. We have to hold the sisters to a level of accountability and responsibility as well. If there was any shubha, if there was any doubt in her mind that it was a secret marriage, it's her prerogative to not go through with it. But do you know what my experience in dealing with women is? You know what my experience is? It's blood sport. It's absolute blood sport. When a woman really likes you, she doesn't care if she's going to be the second or the third or the fourth wife. She doesn't care. She'll take whatever she can get. I have experienced this firsthand with women. Firsthand. They will relinquish this, that, and the third. They don't care about the other. They say they care, and they don't want the first wife to be hurt or anything. But the bottom line is, she wants you by any means necessary. By any and all means necessary. If you enjoyed the video, like it. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is a much deeper discussion that needs to go into details. What did I miss? Let me know if you think I missed something. Shout out in the comments and make sure that you have subscribed the channel. And if you enjoyed this video, check out this video right here where I actually interview my third wife in a podcast form here on YouTube.